Oh, here's
right,
the
so
hand one.
I have these AMA questions if you'd like now.
All right.
I like this one. If you were in Game of Thrones, who would you pledge your service to?
It's too loaded of a question, Kyle. Couldn't possibly answer.
Well, because
Probably
my
Lannister.
answer will be based on the HBO series and not the books, because I haven't read them yet.
I think it'd probably be the same.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just
You think so? With like the arcs and stuff, the change. Well, because I would definitely wouldn't say Dinklage, but maybe now.
I'm trying to think of a reason to go with anyone other than the Starks.
the Lannisters
Which
have a
Stark?
ton of money, and they've got a lot of political interest and
Which
influence.
Stark are you going to pledge your service to?
Well, I would say Ned and then Rob after.
Well, they're both dead. Okay,
Spoilers.
So one.
Yeah,
Don't
so-
listen to
You
recent.
have to pick one.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So post Rob, and post Catelyn. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Now that
people
the main ones that are like pledge worthy are dead.
Yeah, right.
Which-
I don't
which
want to
one
pledge to
children-
Arya.
Arya, Sansa, I guess you could. I mean, Jon Snow kind of counts.
he
sort
kind
of.
of counts.
No,
Why not?
you can't.
Oh,
He's a brother of the Night's Watch.
I mean, he's a bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Starks aren't looking too hot.
There's that
Right
uncle,
now.
but he's Night's Watch too.
I would go with what's his face, Littlefinger, right?
Littlefinger, yeah.
Nice.
Littlefinger's totally not the good guy.
I would
Oh, he's
pledge-
totally.
No. He's not a good guy, but we're doing this for like self-preservation, right? Because we want to be the most powerful person in the land, and we're trying to.
Well, you can choose
Politic
your
our
own
way in.
motivation. I'm trying to choose someone I wouldn't pledge my loyalty to some dick. So Daenerys, maybe.
I feel like that's
Meh.
probably the go-to now. But I'm going with Littlefinger, and I'm hoping that I'm, even though I know at that point I'm a tool that he keeps around.
Yeah, a tool that he can use and make rich in some castle somewhere
Yeah.
while you're just slaying it.
And he's not pushing me down a giant ass hole.
I need a cause I can believe in. And Littlefinger's not that guy. Tyrion's not that guy. Stannis is. It's like Stannis doesn't seem so evil to me, but
I feel like the Night's Watch have it pretty good, especially like if you could get a cushy job up there, like the job that Sam has, like looking after Meister Aemon or whatever, the old
Yeah, he
blind
just
guy.
has to be fat in the wilderness. That's
Dude.
his job.
from what I hear, his job's open.
That's I think that's the best job. Like you don't have to worry about someone. You know, it doesn't matter where you were born in the world, or whether you're a bastard or a raper or a nobleman. Everybody's kind of the same there, and nobody really gives you any shit as long as you carry your own weight. And there are whorehouses.
Wait, no, you
Yeah, but
can't.
imagine the caliber
No,
of
that's
woman you're getting
bullshit.
up there
The show
by
lied
wall.
to you. You should. What do you get into? By the time you're done with book 2, lots of whores for the Night's Watch.
'Cause
All
they-
the whores you could want down in Molestown.
They almost got rid of someone for the girl. I'm trying to remember.
Because you got her pregnant, maybe, or something crazy like that. But the rest of them, they're just letting them have all the whores they want, and like it's like lots of whores.
That is a good selling point.
I mean, but it is a lifelong commitment. You're going to have to cycle through the same prostitutes probably after the first few weeks if you're going that often.
It's Game of Thrones, so the child prostitution is allowed. So there's a new crop every year coming up, and you could always go off and live with the wildlings. That's sort
So
of
there's
an
like a
option.
prostitute university nearby, constantly filling the
more
warrens
like
with
more like a
potential.
prostitute daycare. Like they'll
Oh,
be
that's
there.
less fucked up, yeah.
Yeah. So the Night Watch seemed to have it pretty good to me. I think I would. Obviously, it's cold, but if you're like I don't know, what if you were like a carpenter in the Game of Thrones world? Would you rather be the kind of carpenter that, like, if you fuck up or if Joffrey's just having a bad day, he's gonna like have you burnt or something? Or would you rather be on the wall where they're like, "Good job, Woody. You did a good carpentry job. We're gonna make you master of carpenters from now on." Fuck yeah, I earned that. Like I feel like the Night's Watch is just the way to go.
I like the
Sounds
way that you're
awful.
describing it, that the Night's Watch is just a bunch of slow people. Great job, Chibby.
They are. Like,
They are not the cream of the crop. That's one of the issues with the Night Spot. So my
That's why you would rise. That's what Jon Snow's thing is. Like here's a nobleman coming in who's like had all the benefits of higher education.
He can read, write, and he's relatively intelligent. He's skilled with the sword.
Yeah, all those skills.
He's going to be the king of a band of former rapists.
That's the challenge.
Criminals.
So here, let me tell a dumb story. My father-in-law was a fireman, and he didn't like being a fireman. He hated it. He was a fireman in Paterson, New Jersey. And the hardest part about the job was like the fact that most of his coworkers were like overly macho asshole dipshits. Like my father-in-law was really strong. He had like 18-inch biceps, and he owned a weightlifting club and stuff like that. And they were always wanting to like challenge him to bench press contests and stuff like that. And he's like, I'd rather just be cooking. Like I feel like if I was the Night's Watch, that's the challenge I would have. That I'd be surrounded by like rapers and assholes and like this just sucks. idiots.
And then of course the poor I was sent here because I was stealing a loaf of bread for my poor sick mom.
See, that person I could probably get along with, but his teeth are rotted out. He's never had an education, and
And he's probably a little bitch because he didn't get fed at all as a kid.
Yeah. On the other hand, like even Daenerys, who's maybe the nicest one left. She doesn't seem to be a very good leader. She's incompetent.
No, she just demands ships and dictates what people need to do. There's no initiative. That's why I don't like her as much. It's just, give me ships. Give me this. Give me that. Take me to Westeros.
I'm the mother of dragons. I deserve this. She's got an entitlement thing.
She's a child. Yeah. They're all children. You have to keep that in mind with the whole thing. They're all like 14 or 15 years old. Like Arya's like 10.
You have to add a few years because otherwise it doesn't make any goddamn sense. There's no 10-year-olds running around doing what Arya's doing. Just add 5 years.
I don't know the story well enough, but what the hell is Joffrey's younger brother's name? Tommen?
Tommen.
Yes. Good job.
Maybe Tommen's worthy.
Maybe he is.
I don't know.
I feel like he's just prime for manipulation.
Yeah, the queen's pushing Tommen's buttons now that Tywin has been taken out.
Tywin's taken out. Tyrion's on the run. I guess you would be essentially pledging to Cersei at that point.
Yeah,
totally.
So that would suck.
Yeah.
And not very many good options. Maybe pledge it to Stannis or the Red Woman. Hope she's right. Go all in.
The one thing about the Red Woman is at least it's real. Like, the people are really coming back to life.
Yeah, like she's got
people are dying.
Demons coming out of her vagina in season 2, and meanwhile all the other gods are like, look at this old man's face on a tree. Clearly carved.
They got vagina demons over there. I'm out of here. Go for the forest, my ass.
There's demons coming out of her vagina. Who were the people that did the sword fight? Did the Hound kill one of them and they brought him back, or some knight killed a guy in a cave?
Hound and the Viper. Or no, the Mountain and the Viper. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
The scene is like indoors in a cave or something, and a guy gets killed, and they bring him back. He's been killed a bunch of times.
Oh, Beric Dondarrion and the Hound. Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking. I didn't remember Beric Dondarrion's name.
I know. Get on my level.
When it comes to names, I'm on my own level.
Have you progressed at all in book 2 yet?
Have I what in book 2?
Have you progressed?
Yeah, not as much as I'd like. I can tell you where I am. Book 2, this won't be much longer. 29 and a half hours in, so 7.5 hours to go.
I am almost 14. I'm 14 hours ahead. I'm increasing my lead now.
Are you?
Wait, yeah. Kyle, you're on book 3 still, or book 2?
3.
Book 3, 7 hours in. So is your goal to finish 3 by the middle of April?
No, it's 47.5 hours long. Like at first I've had that inkling. I was like, hey, maybe I could finish book 3 before the show premieres. And then I did what I just did. I looked 47 hours when the last one was 37 and the first one was like 34 maybe. Like 47 is substantially more than 37 if you've ever listened to 37 hours of audiobook.
You'll listen to this one faster though.
I'm really liking it. I'm 7 hours in.
Not true. I'll listen to it in 47 hours. It'll take forever.
I do 2 to 3 hours a day, and I might get it knocked out. We'll see.
Every day I do an hour plus, like an hour 15, and then if I can, I listen to midday as well.
I like to listen to it when I'm in bed, like. So I'll always listen to it until I get tired.
I listened to Feast for Crows on shuffle for about five chapters. And I was so confused because like the first chapter came in and I was like, oh, this is so sweet, a new character. And he was doing a bunch of shit that like it seemed like it had set up for him. I was like, oh my God, what happened at the end of the last book? And I went back and like read that one because I read that.
You told me you're like, it's kind of hard. There's a lot of new characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it was really confusing. Like just people had no idea who they were.
All right, so if you've never heard Roy Dotrice's audiobooks, every chapter begins with a character's name. So he'll be rocking along. He'll be like, and the night was dark and cold, and she was alone. And he'll pause for a moment, and then he'll go, John. And you'll begin John's chapter. So it would be very easy to start one of these audiobooks on shuffle, like he said, and just not notice it because it just bounces around like that all the time.
I want
like
a
it doesn't say
chapter.
chapter 1. It just says Arya.
I want to go back to AMA, but there has never been a Littlefinger chapter. Like he's the most interesting character, one of the most interesting characters in the whole storyline, but you never really hear what he's thinking or planning or whatever. You just hear about what he did through other people's storylines. And it's like, man, I want some Littlefinger insight.
I don't think you'll get a chapter from him. Just like I don't think you'll get a chapter from Varys. The guy, eunuch.
Yeah.
The eunuch.
They know too much.
Even though he doesn't have balls.
Plot is
Sounds a little gay.
You know what confused me? So, the maester that works for Tyrion betrayed him, and he knew this because Varys knew his secret, which meant that the maester, like, you know, he gave like a different letter and instruction to a bunch of different people, and the maesters got leaked.
Yeah.
But Varys has that like wizard in a box that figures out secrets for him, so the maester didn't necessarily leak.
No, it's not a wizard in a box that figures out secrets for him.
There's so much wrong with what you said.
Fuck you all. No.
Okay.
So there is a wizard in a box.
There's a man in a box.
Show. I don't think I've seen the man in the box in the book yet, assuming that he exists in the book. They did talk about the day that he got cut and stuff, but he never showed us the wizard in the box. But Varys has proven to be able to figure things out that shouldn't be able to be figured things out. So I feel like he's using a freaking Snow White mirror somewhere.
No. Okay, so Viserys would never use magic because he hates it so much. He hates nothing in the world more than magic. It seems that he hears things that he shouldn't see, because they're basically just talking about how good his intel is, because he's got spies everywhere. There's literally like eyes poking out of paintings and shit like that. He's just well informed. There is nothing magical about anything Viserys does or will do. He had that guy in the box
many times.
100%.
Taylor, can you confirm or deny what he's saying? Is it literally just human spies that are figuring all this stuff out for Varys or Varys or whatever?
I mean, it's supposed to be human spies, as far as I can understand. But I mean, if some of his spies are using little witchy maneuvers on their own, I suppose that's magic contributing to it.
You know how we all thought that Daenerys had resistance to fire?
Well, we know that.
She doesn't.
No, she does.
Here's the thing. The thing where she was in the pyro whatever and she hatched the eggs, right?
In the fire, yeah.
That's a one-time event. She's not actually invulnerable to fire. She likes warm baths. You know the thing where she was able to hold that burning egg and like it burned everyone else, but she was fine with it. They really imply that this woman is like fireproof. And they asked R.R. Martin about it, George R.R. Martin or whatever, and he's like, no, she's not fireproof. That's not a thing.
I need a link to
the bonfire was a one-time event.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a one-time special ability.
Because she exerts this
at the
ability
wrong time.
like she's done it like 5 different times where she's been
Didn't she
basically
do it at the House of the Undying or whatever? Where the dragons were all going fucking that shit, and she was still around the dragons, not getting burned.
She said she felt the warmth of the flames or something like that, and the dragons are literally burning people who are like grabbing her and like all over her.
Yeah,
like,
knowing George R.R. Martin, he was describing it like she felt the warmth of the dragons, as warm as a chicken pot pie that your mother made. with goose liver all on the side, crisp with bacon. Like, all of his fucking...
Heaping mounds of mashed potatoes.
So here, the question is, twice in the book, Daenerys has been in situations where it's reasonable to expect that she'd have been burned to death or at least seriously injured, and she came out unharmed. The first time was in the funeral pyre. The second time was within Dance with Dragons when she's exposed to dragon's fire. And it goes on and gets wordy. Martin replies. They call it the Word of God. Some fans are reading too much into the scene of Game of Thrones where the dragons are born, which is to say, it was never the case that all Targaryens are immune to fire at all times. And here he goes on and says, it gives me a chance to clear up a common conception. Targaryens are not immune to fire. The birth of Dany Dragons was a unique, magical, wondrous miracle. She's called the Unburnt because she walked into the flames and lived, but her brother sure as hell wasn't immune to the molten gold.
Okay.
Will she be able to do it again? George R.R. Martin, probably not. So I only brought that up because...
I don't think you're interpreting that correctly, though. It sounded to me like what he was saying is that a lot of fans think that all Targaryens are just invulnerable to flame because Dany did it. But it was a unique event. It's just Dany who can do this. Viserys got burnt by the crown. Any normal Targaryen would have. Dany is special. That's what I'm hearing there. There's just no way. I wish the question had been asked more pointedly. Because
no, it's because there are other ones. It's not just Dany. Like Rhaegar, her older brother, he was like the one they called the last dragon.
I have another quote from the Word of God. The phrase blood of the dragon refers to a typical Targaryen features, silvery gold or platinum hair and violet eyes. Some Targaryens also have a high tolerance to heat, though they are no means immune to fire. Take that, tie it in with the pyre thing. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but the Khal Drogo death thing is a one-time event, and it's like what I get at is, to me, the books are very misleading. If the author is telling you she's not immune to fire, yet twice she was immune to fire, and several other times she was immune to high heat, like the dragon's eggs in the bath.
She is essentially fireproof. Maybe what he's trying to say is, like, if we put her in a forge and heated it up to 3,000, she'd eventually smoke up. But she's totally fireproof as far as the show is concerned. Dragons and regular fire just
I think
don't
he's pretty
burn her.
clear with the people are reading into this too much. That was a one-time magical event.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
Well, I hear the passages that are contradicting what I believe, but I'm just going to have faith and believe through it anyway. She can.
Fair enough. So I brought it up because to me there's a parallel between that, where like you're getting these clues that say she's fireproof, yet the author says, you know, that turns out that's not the case, according to the author. In me, there are tons of clues that Varys is using magic, right? The things that like he never told anyone that he still somehow... that he still somehow knows. And I don't know. Like, I'm interpreting this thing to mean Varys is using that wizard in a box to learn stuff.
No, he's not using the wizard in the box. There's a wizard in the box, in the book, in the show, at the...
What I gather from the books is that there will be times when indeed it seems as though there were two people in a room discussing a thing, and yet Viserys knows about what they said. That's just explaining that there's only one of two ways that he could know that. Either one of the two people in the room talked, which is often the case. Everyone in the show is traitorous, and everyone talks, and that, or they were overheard by one of his ears. There's a scene in book 3 where the Queen of Thorns, whatever, the Tyrell grandmother, Marjorie Tyrell's grandmother, is talking to Sansa, and she's asking Sansa, she's like, what kind of man is Joffrey? Is he... She's like, he's very comely. And she can tell that, like, Sansa doesn't want to be overheard because there's, in the book, there's a lot of people in the room. So she has the singer, like, sing louder and louder and louder. She's like, louder! I'm going deaf! And so finally he's just, like, booming. He's so loud, and that way Sansa can talk to her, because they're literally afraid that the walls have ears. Not magical ears, but, you know.
And not literally, but, you know.
Yeah, figuratively, the walls have ears. No magic. But the guy in that box, I took that to either be some random warlock that Viserys was just taking a little petty vengeance out on, or the actual warlock who had castrated him.
It's the actual one.
It's the actual warlock that castrated
Why didn't we get more information about that? Because I want to see what Viserys is going to do to that motherfucker.
Wizard in the box. That's a time bomb. Surprise. You're going to forget about it entirely, and then it'll come back up.
I think keeping him in the box might be part of his punishment.
Yeah,